discuss today's current affairs. The first important current affairs, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump, the president of America, and Putin, the president of Russia, have met at Alaska, and Putin got red carpet welcome. And the most interesting thing, the two strong presidents unusually travel in the same car. It's an unusual thing. They have unusually traveled in the same car. It shows the bond harmony between the two presidents of America and Russia. And most importantly, both of them met to discuss about Russia-Ukraine war, but the talks are not successful with respect to Russia-Ukraine war. Donald Trump have thrown the entire ball on the court of Ukraine and also Western European countries, mostly European countries. They should come to deal with Russian president and they should intervene. America's task is over with respect to Russia-Ukraine war. As you all know, Donald Trump's election promise before American president election is that once he becomes the American president, he'll solve the issue within 24 hours. But even after 7 months of his presidency, he could not deal Russia-Ukraine war in a peaceful manner. For that reason, to eyewash Zelensky and European countries, he met the president of Russia at Alaska. Finally, they have brought out nothing, no constructive outcome. But both the leaders prized each other. Both the leaders have prized each other with a lot of audacity, and both the leaders show that they are transforming the world from great power rivalry to great power concert. Great power rivalry to great power concert. Earlier, great powers used to fight. Now, great powers started thinking about their own business. See, I will mind my own business, you mind your own business. Don't interfere into my task, I don't interfere into your domain. This is great power concert, a new theory that is emerging in IR. From great power rivalry to great power concert. First of all, you should know that. And the second important news that is coming up is American President Donald Trump has picked a design for his Golden Dome missile defense system and named a leader of the ambitious $175 billion defense system. So, as you all know, every country is thinking and every country is preparing its own air defense system. Recently, Donald Trump announced the most advanced air defense system for America is called Golden Dome. And the Golden Dome will protect America from many external threats, including intercontinental ballistic missiles. Its most advanced project, and the details, full details will come out very soon. And yesterday, on the occasion of Independence Day speech, Prime Minister Modi also spoke about the same thing. Project Sudarshan Chakra, inspired from Lord Krishna. Today is Krishnastami. So, Project Sudarshan Chakra, inspired from Lord Krishna, and already America have Thad and Patriot. Israel have Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow and Barak. Iron Dome, David's Sling, Arrow and Barak. So they are all the air defense systems of various countries. Even we purchased air defense system from Russia, that is S-400, and India is also launching its own air defense system, Project Kusha, and Prime Minister Modi have not given full details of Sudarshan Chakra, Project Sudarshan Chakra, and every country is now talking about its own air defense system. As you all know, during Operation Sindoor and aftermath, our air defense systems like S-400 have protected India a lot. You all know that all credits goes to S-400 for our air defense system, and also Akash Tir. So for that reason, India is also planning more advanced air defense system, and America is planning Golden Dome. America is also planning the Golden Dome. The next important news, in yesterday's Independence Day speech, on August 15th Independence Day speech, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced mission to tackle illegal immigrations, calls it conspiracy to change demography. As you all know, in India, now we are really practical with respect to the dealing of illegal immigrants. Modi ji is saying that illegal immigration is nothing but demographic manipulation. So those who are illegally coming to India, they are taking our employment, health facilities. Sometimes they are becoming antisocial elements also. For that reason, zero tolerance to illegal immigrations. India is planning to start a policy with respect to illegal immigrations, and India is showing zero tolerance to illegal immigrations. Legally, people can immigrate into India, but illegally, we don't allow anyone. So, Prime Minister Modi announced a demography mission to protect the country from the dangers posed by illegal immigrants. PM Modi said he would like to alert the nation about the concerns. Particularly, they are targeting our sisters and daughters. They are misleading the Adivasis and grabbing their lands. This will not be tolerated. This will not be tolerated. This is Modi's main point. PM Modi pays tribute to Vajpayee on death anniversary. You all know Atal Bihari Vajpayee, very famous statesman and also the former Prime Minister of India. And more importantly, he is the man who looked beyond, who can be seen beyond politics, and he is very close to all the parties in India. So, Prime Minister Modi paid tribute to the former Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee on his death anniversary. On his death anniversary. And next important thing that is coming up from today's newspaper. The next important thing that is coming up from today's newspaper. So, on August 15th, Independence Day speech, Modi ji spoke about Pradhan Mantri Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana. The scheme would give a one-time grant of 15,000 rupees to first-time employees in the private sector and incentives to the private sector to create employment. And incentives to private sector to create employment. And the other important thing is India is now eyeing more on semiconductor manufacturing. Made in India semiconductors. India will launch Made in India semiconductor chips by the end of 2025. India will launch Made in India semiconductor chip by the end of 2025. And coming to the news from Andhra Pradesh, a new scheme, Stree Shakti, was launched by the Chief Minister. A new scheme, Stree Shakti. Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu said that free travel facility being provided to women in the state of Andhra Pradesh, it would foster their financial independence. Speaking after launching Stree Shakti, the free bus travel scheme for women in Vijayawada city on the premises of Pandit Nehru bus station, Mr. Nehru called the scheme as Brother's Gift to his sisters on the Independence Day. Brother's gift to his sisters on the Independence Day. And you all know that this is an election promise given by the Alliance government during their campaign last year. The similar scheme is being operational in Telangana also. There are some advantages and disadvantages of providing free bus facility for women. There are some advantages and disadvantages of providing free bus facility for women. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? One is definitely, as CM said, women will enjoy financial freedom and independence. And those who are doing menial jobs, for example, those women who are working for 5,000, 6,000, some of them will stop their employment because they cannot afford the charges, transport charges or commutation charges. Now, even they can earn and save that money. And more importantly, if a woman goes out, if a woman is economically empowered, she will be socially empowered and politically empowered. So, it will help for education, it will help for employment, it will help her for her social networking and contacts, it will help her in exploring new things, new avenues, and also learning new things through by going outside in public life. As you all know, most of the women in Telugu states are deprived of personal liberty as they were mostly homemakers. Now, at least they will explore new things. But the challenge is, within the existing RTC setup, even in Telangana, new buses are not added, but old buses are completely flooded with many women. Those women who want to go out for time pass also, they are sitting in the bus. Particularly those women who are going for education or employment, they are not getting their seat properly. So unless you enhance the infrastructure, if you promise new things, it cannot work out. And sometimes the money, the losses for the RTC will be funded by the government. But if women use them properly, the facilities properly, it will be very good. If they can't use it properly or if they misuse it, then again it will be a burden to the state's exchequer. Okay, this is the other thing that's coming up. Stree Shakti really is an important move to empower women, no doubt. But at what cost is a question. What is the cost for it? And whether is it a right move to do that? So here a debate. Freebies, populism versus welfareism. Freebies, populism versus welfareism. So, if you gift a sari to a woman freely, it comes freebie. It comes as a freebie. It is considered as a freebie. If a woman can earn her own sari, it is a welfareism. Teach a hungry man how to fish, but don't give him a fish. Teach a hungry man how to fish, but don't give him a fish. Please kindly think about this. And there's one more bad news that's coming up in Jammu Kashmir, in Kishtwar district. In Kishtwar district of Jammu Kashmir, there's a cloud burst and more than 30 people died. Officially, it was a declaration. And it seems that many more people would have been stuck in the torrential rain that occurred day before yesterday in Kishtwar district in Jammu Kashmir state. And rescue operations are going on to protect, and rehabilitation operations also started. But in spite of all these things, cloudbursts are very common in Himalayan region, particularly there is a orographic lift will cause sudden rains, cloudburst. So kindly see the video and image how this orographic lift have caused the sudden outburst of torrential rain at Himalayan regions. So in many Himalayan states, this is a very big problem. Orographic lift. See, in text and context, there's a very big article in Hindu. Why there is no Palestinian state? Why there is no Palestinian state? If you see editorials and ground zero articles. So this page is called editorial page. In Hindu paper, this page is called editorial page. On every Saturday, you have a full page article called ground zero. This is an editorial page, and every Saturday you have ground zero article also. So let's see what are the headlines in editorial page today. In Hindu paper editorial page, let's see what are the headlines. The editorial today is on Prime Minister's 12th consecutive Independence speech from Red Fort. The Prime Minister held out assurances even while feeding apprehensions. So, there are many things which the Prime Minister spoke out, as you all know. One thing is about RSS. He praised RSS, Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh. Second is about India's high-powered demographic mission. Third is about, if you see, Mission Sudarshan Chakra. Fourth is about GST reforms. Fifth is about countries Viksit Bharat. So, this year's theme is Naya Bharat. You all know that. Naya Bharat and traveling towards Viksit Bharat by 2047. All these things again were reiterated in Hindu papers editorial. And the next article is written by M.K. Narayanan, former National Security Advisor, former Governor of Bengal, former Director of IB. The politics of insurgency, the decline of Naxalism. The politics of insurgency, the decline of Naxalism. Particularly, you all know that Government of India launched Operation Kagar with the goal of ending Naxalism in India by March 31st, 2026. And you all know government is strongly controlling the Naxal areas, particularly if you see Chhattisgarh, encounters, and through other operations, government is strongly now looking into the internal security challenges also. So finally, we can see the decline of Naxalism, but will it be completely dead or not is a $1 million question. Can the government do that? Will it be completely dead or not? Is a $1 million question. Next important news that's coming up, as you all know, with torrential rain in the Himalayan region, last week a complete village was vanished in Uttarakhand, Dharali village. So the ground zero article is about that. People lost their houses, lost their loved ones, lost everything in a single stroke within minutes. If you see that flood, water gushed suddenly from the Himalayas to the villages, and the entire village was flushed out. That was a scenario. See, I'll read out the beginning of the article, ground zero article. The day a village in Uttarkashi disappeared. How can you see? Within a whisker of a moment, the entire village got disappeared. Before August 5th, when the first rays of the sun hits the houses of Darali, a village situated 2,700 meters above sea level in Himalayas, the sounds of conch shells and temple bells would fill the air all the time. Hundreds of pilgrims traveling to the Gangotri temple, one of the Chardhams, among the most sacred pilgrimage circuits in North India, with four holy destinations, would stop at Darali to take rest, sip tea, and to take in breathtaking views of snow capped mountains. On the afternoon of August 5th, a deluge of rain led to a landslide. The Kirgad stream, which flows through the village, swelled up with the debris. Within seconds, the floodwater swallowed the multi storied hotels, homestays, offering river views. A blanket of sludge, piled as high as 30 to 40 meters, now covers the entire village, which have the population of around 1,000 people and also highly floated population of tourists. The rumbling noises of earths, and finally we can see there is no single house remaining. There is complete devastation and everything got gushed out. The same thing happened, almost same scenario, 2 years back, 1.5 year back in Wayanad, Kerala. Almost I have seen this, I can say it is a deja vu moment. Same thing repetition. Same thing repeated. You can study the landslide that happened 1.5 year back at Wayanad, Kerala, and also the landslide and how the entire village in Uttarkashi got disappeared, Darali village, and make a note of it. Kindly prepare the entire notes of it, how the entire village got vanished, disappeared in few seconds. In few seconds, how the entire village got disappeared. Today, there is an interesting news that is coming up. The Tamil speaking people and Malayalam speaking people, after their regions, their intra, if you compare with their intra-country migration, their international migrations are very high. So, Tamilians from Tamil Nadu, Malayalis from Kerala, they are in good numbers in their regions, but most of them are not settling down in other parts of the country. They are going and settling down in various countries. If you observe Gujaratis, Punjabis, you can find many Gujaratis and Punjabis, even Marwadis, settling down in various cities like Vijayawada, Hyderabad. For example, the Gujarati population in Madurai in Tamil Nadu is around 60 to 65,000 people. Whereas, if you see Tamil speaking people, Malayalam speaking people, you can find more number of Tamil speaking people in various countries outside India. Example, Singapore, Malaysia, Southeast Asian nations, including Myanmar, and nowadays they are settling into Europe and also America. If you see Malayalam speaking people, there's a very big joke on them. Even Neil Armstrong will find a Malayalam tea seller on the moon. Even our Neil Armstrong will find a Malayalam tea seller on the moon. That means go anywhere you can find a Malayalam tea seller. That means go anywhere you will find a Malayalam speaking person. So Dubai, if you see most of the Middle East countries, you can find Malayalis. And nowadays they are also going and settling down in North America, Europe, in various countries. So if you observe within India, if you observe Gujaratis, Punjabis, even Telugus, they are going and settling down in other parts of the country. More number of them. If you observe, in Bangalore after Kannadigas, Telugu diaspora is the largest diaspora. In Chennai, they are one of the big diasporas. So earlier the word diaspora is used only for international perspective. Now, recently an IIM survey have conducted a survey on the diaspora within the country, where one culture exploring a new culture within the country. Exactly 10 years back, a scheme was launched by the government of India named Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat, where one culture should learn the other culture. For example, India as a country is more diversified than Europe as a continent. India as a country is more diversified than Europe as a continent. So, first of all, we should explore India. For example, in Punjab, in government schools, Telugu is being taught. For example, in Bengal, Telugu is considered as an additional official language. And if you observe in America, Telugu is one of the fastest growing languages in America. Okay? So some languages, they're going even outside India and flourishing. Within India and outside India. But some languages are region based and some of them are going only outside India. They are not exploring other regions in India. For example, Malayalam. For example, Tamil. So cultural integration within India itself is also a very important thing. Cultural integration within India, exploring new cultures within India is also very important. For example, Northeast India have a different culture. North India have a different culture. South India has a different culture, and West India have a different culture. Even if you observe, for every 10 to 20 kilometers distance, our slang differs, our food flavor differs, even our festivals differ. So India has such a diversity. So we need to explore that diversity.